Zara pressed her back against the cold metal wall of the cargo hold. Her heart beat fast in her chest as she looked around at the other prisoners. They sat on the dirty floor, some crying quietly, others staring at nothing with empty eyes. Smell of fear and sadness filled the air. Her scales flickered between deep purple and sick yellow. Purple meant fear. Yellow meant she had given up hope. She could not control the colors that danced across her skin. It was how her people showed their feelings. Right now, she felt both scared and hopeless. 3 years ago, the Kron ships came to her home planet. They came like a storm of death and fire. Zara still remembered the sound of their weapons tearing through the sky. She remembered her mother pushing her into the underground shelter. She remembered her father saying he would come back for them. He never did. The Kron were not like other aliens in the galaxy. They did not trade or make friends. They took what they wanted. They took planets. They took people. They sold both like objects in a market. Zara was only 14 when they found her hiding in the ruins of her city. Now she was 17. 3 long years of being bought and sold like a piece of furniture. 3 years of owners who hid her when she was slow. 3 years of sleeping in cages and eating scraps. The ship shook as it moved through space. Zara heard the Kron guards talking in their harsh language, or excited about something. She had learned some of their words during her time as a slave. They were talking about a new market, a place where they could sell prisoners for good money. Next to her sat an old alien with gray skin and kind eyes. His name was Krell. He had been a teacher on his planet before the Kron came. He always tried to make the younger prisoners feel better with stories and jokes. But today, even Krell looked worried. "Where do you think they are taking us this time?" whispered a small voice. It was Pip, one of the twin children from the Astari system. She and her brother Zep had been caught 6 months ago. They were only 10 years old. Krell put his arm around the little girl. "I do not know, child, but we must stay strong. We must take care of each other." Zara wanted to believe him, but she had heard this before. Every time they were moved to a new place, someone said things would get better. They never did. Some owners were worse than others, but none of them were good. All of them saw the prisoners as things to use, not as people with feelings and dreams. The guards talked louder now. Zara caught some words. They mentioned humans. The humans were a young race that had just joined the big galactic community. The Kron thought they were weak because humans sometimes showed mercy to their enemies. Zara had never met a human before. She had heard stories from other prisoners. Some said humans looked strange with their pink or brown skin and no scales. Others said humans were just like every other race in the galaxy. They cared only about money and power. The ship shook again, but this time it felt different. The engines were slowing down. They were stopping somewhere. Zara felt her scales turn. Darker purple. New places meant new pain. It always did. Captain Vex, the Kron leader of this ship, walked into the cargo hold. He was tall and covered in thick armor. His red eyes looked at the prisoners like they were pieces of meat. He spoke in the common galactic language so everyone could understand him. "Listen well, slaves. We are meeting with potential buyers. You will be quiet. You will look healthy. You will not cause trouble. Anyone who makes problems will be thrown out of the airlock." He pointed at Zara. "You, reptile girl, your scales are too dark. Make them brighter or I will give you something real to be scared about." Zara tried to calm herself, but fear was hard to control. Her scales stayed purple and yellow. Vex stepped closer, raising his hand to hit her. She closed her eyes and waited for the pain, but the blow never came. Instead, she heard alarms going off all over the ship. Red lights flashed in the cargo hold. Guards ran toward the front of the ship, shouting in their language. Through the small window in the cargo hold, Zara saw another ship. It was smaller than theirs, but looked well-built. It had strange markings on its side. The prisoners pressed against the walls as the ship shook from some kind of impact. Krell grabbed Pip and Zep, holding them close. "What is happening?" Pip asked. "I think," Krell said slowly, "someone is trying to board our ship." Zara felt something she had not felt in 3 years. A tiny spark of hope. Maybe, just maybe, rescue was coming. But she pushed the feeling down. Hope was dangerous. Hope led to disappointment. Hope made the pain worse when nothing changed. She pressed harder against the wall and waited to see what would happen next. In her experience, rescue was just another word for a new owner. The sounds of fighting came from the front of the ship. Zara heard the buzz of energy weapons and the heavy footsteps of soldiers running through the hallways. The prisoners huddled together in the cargo hold, not knowing what was happening. Captain Vex's voice came over the ship's speakers. He was angry and shouting orders to his crew, but Zara noticed something different in his voice. For the first time since she had known him, Vex sounded worried. The door to the cargo hold opened with a loud hiss. But instead of crone guards, strange new beings walked in. Zara had never seen creatures like these before. They walked on two legs like most galactic races, but their skin was smooth and came in different shades of brown and pink. They had hair on their heads in colors from yellow to black. These had to be the humans the guards were talking about. 4 of them entered the hold. The one in front was a man with short brown hair and kind eyes. He wore a blue uniform with gold, markings that meant he was probably the leader. Behind him came a woman with red hair carrying a medical bag. The other 2 were clearly soldiers, but they kept their weapons pointed down, not at the prisoners. The brown-haired man looked around the cargo hold. His face showed anger when he saw the dirty conditions and the scared prisoners. But when he spoke, his voice was gentle. My name is Jake Morrison. I am the captain of the human ship Aurora. We received a distress signal from this vessel, paused and looked directly at the prisoners. Are you all here against your will? The prisoners stayed silent. This had to be some kind of trick. New. Owners always pretended to be nice at first. Zara's scales stayed dark purple. She pressed herself further against the wall. Krell was the first to speak. His voice was shaky but brave. We are slaves, human, taken from our home worlds by the Kron. Jake's face grew darker with anger, but not at them. He turned to one of his soldiers. Ryan, where is the Kron captain? In the bridge, sir? Conscious but alive? The rest of his crew surrendered when we disabled their weapons. Jake nodded. Good, we do this by the law. He turned back to the prisoners. I need you all to understand something. You are not property. You are people. People should be free. Zara wanted to laugh, but she was too scared. She had heard pretty words before. It never meant anything. The woman with red hair stepped forward and knelt down next to a wounded prisoner. I'm Dr. Lisa Grant, she said softly. I'm going to help treat your injuries. Is that okay? The wounded prisoner, an older alien with blue skin, nodded slowly. Dr. Grant began cleaning his cuts with gentle hands. She explained everything she was doing before she did it. She asked permission before touching him. Zara had never seen a doctor treat a slave with such care. Jake walked over to where Zara sat with Krell and the twins, got down on one knee. So he was at their eye level, instead of standing over them like the Kron always did. What are your names? He asked. Krell answered first. I am Krell Knox, formerly a teacher on Theron Prime. These are Pip and Zep from the Astari system, and this is Zarakai from Belthon. Jake repeated each name carefully, as if they were important. Krell, Pip, Zep, Zara, I want you to know that you are safe now. We are going to take you away from here. Zara finally found her voice, though it came out as barely a whisper. What do you want from us? Jake looked confused. Want from you? Nothing. We want to help you get home or find you safe places to live. But what do we have to do for you? Zara asked. What work? What payment? Understanding crossed Jake's face. You don't have to do anything. You don't owe us anything. Right. We help because it's the right thing to do. Yes. Zara's scales flickered between purple and a very pale green. Green meant hope, but she had forgotten that color existed. She quickly pushed the feeling away. This was just another trick. One of Jake's soldiers, a young man with black hair, came back into the hold. Captain, we've secured the Kron crew. What are your orders? Transfer all the prisoners to the Aurora. Set up the emergency shelters in Cargo Bay 2. Make sure everyone has food, water, and medical attention. Jake stood up and looked around the hold again, and Ryan. Treat them like honored guests, not refugees. They've been through enough. Yes, sir. As the humans began helping prisoners. To their feet, Zara noticed something strange. The soldiers were gentle. Dr. Grant smiled as she helped people walk. Jake himself carried one of the smaller children, who was too weak to walk alone, when it was Zara's turn to leave the cargo hold. Jake offered her his hand. She stared at it for a long moment. In 3 years, no one had offered to help her walk anywhere. They had always pushed or dragged her. Slowly, she took his hand. It was warm and steady. Jake helped her stand and walked toward the door of the cargo hold. As they left the dirty, smelly prison she had known for weeks, Zara felt something she had not felt in years. She felt the smallest bit of hope, but she was still afraid to believe it was real. Zara stood in the doorway of her new room and could not believe what she was seeing. There was a real bed with clean sheets and a soft pillow. There was a small table with a chair. There was even a window that showed the stars outside. The room was bigger than any space she had lived in for 3 years. The human soldier named Ryan showed her how everything worked. This button controls the lights, he said, pressing a switch on the wall. This one adjusts the temperature. The bathroom is through that door. If you need anything at all, just press this button and someone will come help you. Zara touched the bed with one finger. The blanket was soft and warm. She had not slept on anything but cold metal floors for so long that she had forgotten what comfort felt like. Is this really for me? She asked. Ryan smiled. Yes, it's yours for as long as you're on our ship. We know it's not much, but we hope you'll be comfortable. After Ryan left, Zara sat on the edge of the bed. Her scales were still mostly purple, but tiny flecks of green kept appearing and disappearing. She was afraid to hope, but this room was better than anywhere she had lived since leaving her home planet. A soft knock came at her door. Dr. Grant stood outside with a tray of food. I brought you dinner, she said. I asked our computer what foods your species can eat safely. I hope this is okay. Zara looked at the tray. There were vegetables that looked like ones from her home world. There was fruit that smelled sweet and fresh. There was even a small piece of meat cooked the way her mother used to make it. Her stomach made a loud noise. Thank you, Zara whispered. Dr. Grant set the tray on the small table. Zara, I need to check your health if that's okay. I want to make sure you're not hurt or sick. Zara nodded. She was used to medical checks, but they were usually rough and quick. The owners wanted to know if their slaves could work. Nothing more, but Dr. Grant was different. She explained everything before she did it. I'm going to listen to your heart now. This might feel cold. She was gentle when she touched Zara's arm to check her pulse. She asked if anything hurt before she pressed on Zara's stomach or back. You're very thin, Dr. Grant said with worry in her voice. Have you been getting enough food? Slaves get food when the work is done, Zara said. It was just a fact of her life. Dr. Grant's face showed anger, but again not at Zara. Well, you're not a slave anymore. You'll get 3 meals every day, plus snacks if you want them. I'm going to give you some vitamins to help you get stronger.
Ow.
After the doctor left, Zara ate her dinner slowly. Each bite tasted better than anything she had eaten in years. When she was finished, she lay down on the bed. The sheets were so soft that she almost cried, but she could not sleep. This was too good to be real. Soon the humans would show their true nature. They would demand work or payment. They would hit her when she was too slow or ask too many questions. Everyone always did. The next morning, another knock came at her door. It was Captain Jake. He looked tired, as if he had not slept much. Good. Morning, Zara. How are you feeling? Fine, sir, she said quickly. She had learned to always say she was fine, even when she was not. Jake studied her face. You don't have to call me Sir. Jake is fine. I wanted to talk to you about what happens next. Here it comes, Zara thought. Now he tells me what work I have to do. We're taking you and the other survivors to Federation Station Omega 7. It's a safe place where they help people who have lost their homes. They'll give you choices about where you want to go and what you want to do with your life. Zara stared at him. Choices, yes. You can choose to go to a colony world with other people from your planet. You can choose to learn a job and live. On the station, you can choose to do anything you want. The choice is yours. But what if I choose wrong? Jake sat down in the chair across from her. There is no wrong choice, Zara. There are just different paths. And if you don't like the path you choose, you can choose a different one later. Zara's scales flickered with more green than she had seen in years, but she was still scared. Why are you helping us? What do you get from it? Jake was quiet for a moment. On my planet, we have a saying. It means that helping others makes us more human. We don't help because we get something back. We help because everyone deserves to be treated with kindness. Even slaves. You're not a slave, Zara. You never were. You're a person. You have value just because you exist. After Jake left, Zara sat by her window and looked out at the stars. For the first time in 3 years, she let herself think about the future. Maybe, just maybe, these humans were telling the truth. Maybe there really were people in the galaxy who helped others without wanting anything back. Her scales showed more green than purple for the first time since her capture. It was a small start, but it was something. Days passed on the Aurora, and Zara began to notice changes in herself and the other prisoners. The ship no longer felt like a prison. People talked quietly in the hallways instead of staying silent from fear. Some even laughed sometimes. Sophie, the ship's engineer, had set up classes for anyone who wanted to learn. She taught basic computer skills and showed how the ship's systems worked. Zara was surprised when several prisoners joined the classes. They seemed interested in learning, not afraid of being punished for asking questions. Dr. Grant held daily meetings for people who wanted to talk about their experiences. She called it healing the mind, not just the body. At first, only a few people came, but slowly more began to join. They shared stories about their homeworlds and their families. Some cried. Others got angry. Dr. Grant listened to all of them. Without judging, Zara did not join these meetings yet. She was still too scared to talk about her past, but she watched from the doorway sometimes and saw how the other survivors seemed lighter after sharing their pain. Ryan, the soldier, organized games and sports in the ship's large cargo bay. He had moved all the supply boxes to make space for people to move around. Zara discovered that beings from different worlds often played similar games. Even the twins, Pip and Zep, started running around and playing again like normal children, but Zara spent most of her free time at the ship's observation deck. It was a quiet place with big windows that showed the stars and empty space outside. She liked to stand there and think. The vastness of space made her problems feel smaller somehow. One evening, she found Jake standing at the observation deck during his off-duty time. He was looking out at the stars with a thoughtful expression. Zara almost left, not wanting to bother him. But something made her stay hidden in the doorway, watching him. Jake seemed peaceful standing there, not like the owners who were always angry or impatient. Not like the Kron, who were always planning something cruel. He just looked calm and quiet, like he was enjoying the simple beauty of the stars. The next evening, Zara came back to the observation deck. Jake was there again. This time he noticed her in the doorway. Hello, Zara, he said with a gentle smile. The stars are beautiful tonight. Zara stepped a little closer but stayed near the door in case she needed to leave quickly. Jake did not try to make her come closer or talk. He just went back to looking at the stars. His presence felt safe somehow. On the third night, Zara found the courage to stand next to the big window. Jake was there as usual. They stood in comfortable silence. For a while, both looking out at the endless space. Do you miss your home? Jake asked softly. Zara's scales flickered between green and purple. It was a hard question. Every day, she whispered. Tell me about it if you want to. For the first time in 3 years, Zara found herself talking about Velton. She told Jake about the crystal caves where her people lived. She described the bioluminescent gardens that glowed in different colors at night. She talked about her parents and her little brother who loved to collect unusual rocks. Jake listened without interrupting, did not try to tell her that everything would be okay or that she should forget the past. He just listened and let her speak. The Kron destroyed everything, Zara said, her voice getting sad. There is nothing left of my world. But there are other survivors, Jake said gently. Krell told me there are Valthani colonies on 3 different worlds now. Your people and your culture are not gone completely. Zara had not known this. Hope that flickered in her chest felt dangerous, but she could not push it away completely. Over the following days, Jake and Zara continued meeting at the observation deck. Jake told her about Earth and human history. He was honest about the bad things humans had done as well as the good things. He told her about wars and slavery in human history. He explained how humans had learned from their mistakes and tried to do better. "We are not perfect," Jake said one night. "We have caused pain and suffering too. But we learned that being cruel does not make us strong. Being kind does." "How do you know the difference?" Zara asked. "Between people who are truly kind and people who are just pretending." Jake thought about this for a long time. Kind people do good things even when no one is watching. They help without expecting anything back. And they admit when they make mistakes. Zara looked at Jake's reflection. In the window, his eyes were honest and calm. He had been consistent in his kindness every single day since the rescue. He never got angry when prisoners asked for things. He never demanded gratitude or payment. He treated everyone with the same respect, from the oldest prisoners to the youngest children. "I think," Zara said slowly, "I am starting to believe you. Might be one of the truly kind people." Jake smiled. "That means a lot to me, Zara. Trust is not something you give away icily after what you've been through. Thank you for giving me a chance to earn it." It was the color of peace and contentment. She had almost forgotten that such colors existed within her. 3 weeks had passed since the rescue. Zara was starting to feel something she had not felt in years. Safety. Her scales showed blue more often than purple now. She'd even laughed at one of Krell's jokes yesterday. Sounded surprised. Her so much that she covered her mouth with her hands. But that feeling of safety was about to be tested. The alarm bells rang through the aurora early in the morning. Zara woke up, 2 red lights flashing in her room and Jake's voice coming over. "The ship's speakers. All crew and passengers, please report to the main meeting room immediately." This is not a drill. Zara's scales turned dark purple instantly. Her heart pounded as she ran to the meeting room with everyone else. The last time she had heard emergency alarms, bad things had happened. Very bad things. Jake stood at the front of the room with his crew. His face was serious, but calm. Ryan stood next to him with a worried expression. Dr. Grant held a tablet showing information that Zara could not read from her seat. "I need to tell you something important," Jake began. "We have been found by a Kron battle fleet. Their commander is Admiral Vexmore, and he is demanding that we return all rescued prisoners to him." Gasps and cries of fear filled the room. Zara felt like she could not breathe. Her scales turned completely black, the color of total despair. This was it. This was the end of the dream. The Kron had come to take them back. Pip started crying and grabbed onto her brother Zep. Krell put his arms around both children, but his own hands were shaking. All around the room, the survivors looked terrified. "How many ships?" asked one of the older prisoners. 12, Ryan answered. "We have 1 ship. The odds are not good." Zara closed her eyes. Of course Jake would give them back to the Kron. It was the smart thing to do. Why should he and his crew die for a bunch of former slaves? She had been stupid to think the kindness was real. When things got hard, people always chose to save themselves. But Jake's next words shocked her. "I want you all to know that I will not surrender any of you. You are free people, and you will stay free. But I also want to be honest with you about what this means." Zara opened her eyes and stared at Jake. He was not giving them away. "If we fight, we might all die," Jake continued. "The Aurora is a good ship, but we are outnumbered. I will not lie to you about the danger. But I also will not hand you over. 2 people who will hurt you." "But Captain," said one of the prisoners, "you should save your crew. We understand if you need to give us back." Jake shook his head firmly. "No, that is not who we are. That is not who humans choose to be." Dr. Grant stepped forward. "We have been working on this problem since we first saw the Kron ships on our sensors. Sophie's been modifying our shields and weapons. We have a plan." Sophie, the engineer, nodded. "It is risky, but it might work. We can boost our power systems and make our shields much stronger for a short time, but we will need everyone's help. What can we do? Krell asked. We are not soldiers. You can help with repairs during the battle, Ryan said. Dr. Grant will. Need assistance in the medical bay? Some of you have technical skills that we can use? Jake looked around the room at all the survivors. But I want you to understand something. This choice is yours to make. If anyone wants to go back to the Kron to save the rest of us, I will not stop you. The choice must be yours. The room went quiet. Zara felt her heart beating so hard she thought it might break. Jake was giving them a choice. Even now, when his own life was in danger, he was letting them choose their own fate. Krell stood up first. I choose to stay and fight. I would rather die free than live as a slave. One by one, every single survivor in the room stood up. Pip and Zepp held hands as they stood together. Even the oldest and weakest prisoners chose to stand and fight rather than return to slavery. Zara was the last to stand. Her scales were still black, but now they had flecks of gold in them. Gold was the color of determination. She looked directly at Jake. We all choose freedom, she said, in a voice that was stronger than she felt. Jake smiled, and there were tears in his eyes. Then we fight together, all of us. The next few hours were the busiest of Zara's life. She found herself working with Dr. Grant to set up extra medical stations around the ship. Sophie taught her and several other survivors how to repair damaged systems. Ryan showed them how to help with emergency procedures. As the Kron ships got closer, Zara realized something amazing. She was not just a passenger on this ship anymore. She was part of the crew. She belonged here. These people had risked their lives for her freedom, and now she would do the same for them. The battle was about to begin, and for the first time in years, Zara was not facing it alone. The battle began with a flash of light that lit up the darkness of space. Zara felt the aurora shake as the first enemy shots hit their shields. She was in the medical bay with Dr. Grant, ready to help anyone who got hurt during the fight. Shields. Holding at 80%, Sophie's voice came over the speakers. But they won't last long against this many ships. Through the small window in the medical bay, Zara could see the Kron ships firing their weapons. Red beams of energy crossed the space between the fleets like angry lightning. The Aurora fired back with blue beams that seemed smaller but somehow more precise. Jake's voice came over the speakers, calm even in the middle of battle. Ryan, target their lead ship's weapon systems. Sophie, give me everything you can to the forward shields. The ship shook again, harder this time. The lights flickered, and Zara heard the sound of something breaking in the hallway outside. A moment later, 2 crew members carried in a wounded human engineer. Plasma burn on his arm, one of them said quickly. Dr. Grant moved fast, but stayed calm. Zara, I need you to hold this bandage here while I get the burn medicine. Zara pressed. The bandage against the man's arm? He was in pain, but he looked at her with grateful eyes. Thank you, he whispered, for the first time in her life. Zara was helping to heal someone instead of being the one who needed healing. It felt good. It felt right. The battle continued around them. More wounded people came to the medical bay, both humans and survivors. Zara worked next to Dr. Grant, learning quickly how to clean wounds and apply bandages. Her hands stayed steady, even when the ship shook from enemy fire. The Kron flagship is losing power. Ryan's excited voice came over the speakers. Main weapons are down. Press the advantage, Jake ordered. But aim for their engines, not their life support. We disable them. We don't murder them. Even in the middle of a fight for their lives, Jake was trying not to kill the enemy if he could help it. Zara's scales flickered with bright blue. This was what real strength looked like. It's not cruelty or revenge, but choosing to be better than your enemies. The Aurora turned and fired at another Kron ship. This time their shots hit perfectly, and the enemy ship's engines went dark. One by one, the other Kron ships began to retreat as they realized they could not win against the Aurora's surprising strength and skill. The flagship is trying to run, Sophie reported. Let them go, Jake said. We've made our point. Minutes later, the battle was over. The medical bay was full of wounded people, but no one had died. Dr. Grant moved between patients, checking everyone carefully. Zara followed her, learning and helping. "You have good hands for this work, Doctor," Grant told Zara as they finished treating the last patient. "You stay calm under pressure, and you care about helping people." "Have you ever thought about becoming a medic?" Zara stared at her. "Me? But I am just a former slave. Do not know anything about medicine." "You know more than you think, Doctor," Grant said with a smile. "I have been watching you work today. You have natural instincts for healing. And more importantly, you have the heart for it." Later that day, Jake called another meeting. This time, the mood in the room was completely different. People were tired but happy. They'd fought together and won together. "I want to thank everyone," Jake said, human and non-human alike. "Today we proved that when good people work together, they can overcome even terrible odds." Krell stood up, his old eyes bright with joy. "Captain Morrison, we owe you our lives." Jake shook his head. "You don't owe us anything. You fought just as hard as we did. You are not passengers on this ship anymore. You are crew members. You are family." Zara felt something warm spread through her chest. Family, she had thought.
Oh.
She would never have a family again after losing her parents and brother. But here, surrounded by humans and aliens who cared about each other, she felt like she belonged. Over. The following days, as the Aurora continued toward Federation space, Zara spent more and more time in the medical bay. Dr. Grant taught her how to use the medical scanners and how to treat different types of injuries. Zara learned quickly and seemed to have a natural gift for knowing what hurt and how to fix it. "I think," Dr. Grant said one evening as they finished their work, "you might want to consider medical training when we reach the Federation station." Zara looked at her hands. They had been used for hard labor and survival for so long. "We're learning to heal and help. Do you really think I could be a doctor someday?" "I think you could be anything you want to be, Zara. The question is, what do you want?" For the first time since her rescue, Zara knew the answer. She wanted to help people the way Jake and his crew had helped her. She wanted to heal others who had been hurt and scared. She wanted to turn her own pain into something that could help make the galaxy a little bit better. Her scales glowed with steady silver, the color of quiet confidence and purpose. She had found her path forward. 6 months had passed since the battle with the Kron fleet. Zara stood in the medical bay of the Aurora, carefully checking the supplies for their next mission. Her scales showed steady silver with flecks of gold, colors that meant she felt confident and determined. She wore a medical uniform now, with a badge that said Medical Assistant. In both human writing and galactic standard, Dr. Grant had become more than her teacher. She had become like an older sister, patient and caring as she helped Zara learn everything about healing and medicine. The Aurora was different now, too. It was no longer just an exploration ship. Jake had requested special permission from the Federation to turn it into a rescue vessel. The crew was bigger now, made up of humans and former prisoners who had chosen to stay and help others. Krell had become the ship's teacher, helping rescued people learn new skills. Pip and Zepp, now almost 11 years old, were studying to become engineers like Sophie. Even some of the Aurora's original human crew had been inspired by the survivors' courage and asked to stay on the rescue missions, instead of returning to normal exploration work. "Zara, we're getting a distress signal," Jake's voice came over the speakers. "Can you come to the bridge?" Zara made her way to the front of the ship, where Jake and Ryan were looking at their screens. The bridge was busier now, with stations. For the new crew members who helped with rescue operations, "What do we have?" Zara asked. "A damaged ship about 2 hours away," Ryan said. "The signal is weak, but it looks like there might be prisoners on board." Jake turned to look at Zara. "The interesting thing is, the prisoners appear to be human. We think raiders from the Outer Rim caught a human transport ship." Zara felt her scales flicker with determination. Human prisoners meant that somewhere, human families were worried about their loved ones the same way she had worried about her family. The same way her family had probably worried about her. "How many?" she asked. "At least 20, maybe more, including children," Zara nodded. "I will prepare the medical bay and the emergency shelters." As the Aurora moved toward the distress signal, Zara worked with Dr. Grant to get ready for the rescue. They had done this many times now, but each rescue was important. Each person saved was someone's family member, someone's friend, someone who deserved to be free. 2 hours later, they found the damaged ship. It was small and badly hurt, drifting in space with no power. Jake and his team boarded it carefully. Just like they had boarded the Kron slave ship, where they first found Zara, the first prisoners they brought to the Aurora were a human woman and her young daughter. The little girl was maybe 7 years old, with brown hair and scared eyes. She held tight to her mother's hand and would not let go. Zara knelt down next to the child, remembering how Jake had gotten down to her level during their first meeting. The little girl looked at Zara's scaled skin and glowing eyes with curiosity instead of fear. "Hello," Zara said softly. "My name is Zara. What is your name?" "Emma," the little girl whispered. "Emma is a beautiful name. I want you to know that you are safe now. The bad people cannot hurt you anymore." "Are you a doctor?" Emma asked. "I am learning to be one. I help people who are hurt or scared, just like you." Emma's mother looked at Zara with tears in her eyes. "Thank you," she whispered, as more human prisoners were brought aboard. Zara worked alongside Dr. Grant to treat their injuries and help them feel safe. She noticed that her own experience as a former prisoner helped her understand what these people were feeling. She knew the fear and the difficulty of trusting that rescue was real. Later that evening, after all the new survivors had been fed and given clean clothes and safe places to sleep, Zara found Jake at the observation deck. It had become their special place for quiet conversations. "How are you feeling?" Jake asked. "Good," Zara said, and she meant it. "Today I helped a little human girl feel safe. 6 months ago I was the scared one being rescued. Now I am the one doing the rescuing." Jake smiled. "You have come a long way, Zara. Your family would be proud of you." Zara's scales glowed brighter. She thought about her parents and her little brother often. The pain of losing them would never go away completely. But now, instead of just carrying that pain, she was using it to help others. She was making sure that other families might be reunited, that other children might not have to suffer as she had. "Jake," she said, "thank you for showing me that kindness is real. Thank you for teaching me that some people really do help others without wanting anything back. You taught me something too, Zara. You taught me that healing is not just about fixing wounds. It is about showing people that they matter, that they have value, that they deserve to be treated with respect." Zara looked out at the stars, the same stars she had wished upon as a child on Velthan. She was not the same frightened girl who had been rescued from the Kron ship. She was stronger now, but not hard. She was wiser, but not bitter. She had learned that the best way to heal from pain was to help others heal from theirs. Tomorrow, they would take the rescued humans to safety. Next week, there would be another distress signal, another group of people who needed help. And Zara would be ready, with steady hands and a kind heart, to offer them the same gift that Jake had once offered her: the gift of hope, the gift of kindness, the gift of a new beginning.